ChaptHer is a niche platform building a network for women across the board, specifically those working in STEAM, traditionally expanded to be science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We have gone for a slightly skewed arrangement of the acronym, tagging ourselves as a repository of women in teams. We envision ourselves as co-opting an outreach, or let's say an arm that tackles, trains, connects, grows, and contributes in some small way to the efforts to enhance skills for women in different areas of work. This applies to women in Pakistan and the Pakistani diaspora wherever possible around the world.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of She Soiree Live Sprints with ELTech. मेरा नाम बेमिसाल इकबाल है, and I am so excited to welcome you to our fourth session, which marks a whole complete month of us bringing these amazing women and their amazing stories to you all. And we hope to bring in more stories to you as we go, through everything that we have planned with you all. And just so that we can get motivated to do better, to be better. And like I always say, and you have heard in the video, ELTech is trying to create a platform where women can empower themselves, can learn from one another, can benefit from understanding the stories, the struggles, the challenges, the wins, and the successes of one another. And She Soiree in particular is a series that we have started. So that we can bring more approachable and relatable women on this platform who talk about their struggles, who talk about their stories, and who we can ask questions to, right? Who we can reach out to eventually, so that we can sort of motivate ourselves that if she can do it, why can't I? So with that in mind, we've been doing these sessions. So before we move on to our speaker for today, who is this amazing person, I'm just going to introduce her. Before we do that, I would like to just share some pointers with you all. Mashallah, alhamdulillah, we've been getting an amazing response from you all as far as She Soiree is concerned. A lot of women have reached out to me who know women who should be featured on this platform, or who want to be featured because they've, mashallah, they've been doing such amazing work. So I just wanted to give out a message that if you know anyone, if you want to be featured, please reach out. Where me, Mehek, Aksa, we're just an inbox away. And also, since this is a platform that, mashallah, now we're over 500 members, we are developing and we want to bring the best of content to you all. So do share feedback, any comments, suggestions. What would you like to see on this platform? What are your expectations from ELTech? And we're going to be, we have a lot planned in the pipeline, which we're slowly going to share with you all. So after 1 month of She Soiree Live Sprints, I can say that, alhamdulillah, the response has been great. The support has been great from all of you women in teams, and we hope to continue that. So moving on to our amazing guest today. Last week, we had Marzia, who told us about digital marketing, and she broke down data analytics for us, right down to basic level. Today, we have someone who is a senior brand manager at Nivea Canada. She has experience in the marketing field, not just in Canada, but also in Pakistan and Dubai. So there's a lot that we will be learning from her today. And Assalamu alaikum, Yumna. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm good. I'm doing really well. And you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Thank you so much for being a part of this with us. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Tell us about your education and your career and how it all started and how you ended in Nivea Canada today.
Okay. So I was actually born and raised in Saudi Arabia. So वहीं पर मैंने अपनी schooling करी थी up until my A-levels. So I mean, it was a very fun childhood. Very different, I would say. Pakistan, हम summers में आते थे हमेशा. But even a lot of diaspora growing up in the Middle East would say we are more Pakistani than we are expats. So I grew up in Saudi Arabia. Uske baad phir I went to move to Karachi to do my bachelor's, and that's when I joined Zabis to do a BBA, and I majored in marketing. While I was doing my BBA, during my third year, I joined Unilever's internship program, which was absolutely a dream come true. Just getting into that program. Super exciting experience. Unilever is an incredible marketing school. While I was there, I worked on the launch of Vim dishwashing liquid. So that was one of my major projects. And off the batch of 15 interns, I was actually selected as one of the top interns based on my performance. And the benefit of that was if you're a top intern, you get to qualify for a certain stage of their management training round. So the management training selection process is pretty rigorous. There's like 5 or different stages, interviews, and selection rounds. So as a top intern, I got to move to the third last level, which was fantastic. So once I finished established, uske baad I went ahead and went through the management training selection program, and I got in, which was also fantastic. I think that was one of the proudest achievements of my life, just getting into Unilever. As I mentioned, it's an incredible school. It's an incredible school for aspiring marketers. They have some of the best brands. So so Unilever में मैंने management training program में I worked on their ice cream portfolio. So the beloved Jet Sport, which is part of the Paddle Pop umbrella. So I worked on the Paddle Pop brand while I was there. Uske baad I got married, and I followed my heart. I moved to Dubai to live with my husband. No regrets, absolutely no regrets. मैंने actually management training program halfway छोड़ा था for that reason. I could have stayed on, finished the program, but it was a personal decision that I took, which I absolutely stand by. Then uske baad, when I moved to Dubai, I took a little bit of time before I started looking for a job. But फिर मैंने job hunt जब start करी, and this is where I start my LinkedIn spiel a little bit, because I'm a huge fan of the platform. Back then, LinkedIn was not as big as it is now, but it was still growing. So that's where I started my job hunt. मैंने उसमें अपनी profile बनाई, and I started applying to jobs. Another thing back then that you could do on LinkedIn was you could see किस recruiter ने job post करी है. So now we know for a fact, the best way to actually get a job on LinkedIn is to not just apply, but to try to find out who the hiring manager is, who the recruiter is, and contact them directly. अब जरा वो identify करना मुश्किल होता है, but back then you could see the name of the person. So that's what I did. I contacted the buyer store of my current company in Keep Job IVT. I applied. I contacted the recruiter, and I made a strong case for myself, and that's why they called me in for an interview. And so we went through the process, got into the company. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about my role in Buyer Store of Dubai. And maybe taking a step back to explain for those of you who aren't familiar with the consumer packaged goods or the FMCG marketing team structures. The way it works is in a country, एक marketing team होती है जिसमें you have a number of brand managers, you have people, somebody doing digital, somebody doing PR, but that's kind of the local team that is responsible for growing market share and growing brands locally in that country. And then a lot of these companies have something called a regional structure, which is basically a team that is based out of one central, कुछ बहुत सारे regional offices Dubai में है, Singapore में है. So Barstock was actually just in the process of setting up a regional marketing team for what they called emerging markets, which was all of Middle East, all of Africa, India, Russia, and Turkey. So pretty vast region, yeah. And because they were just starting the team and the structure was just being set up, the team was basically comprised of senior professionals who had moved around within the Barstock world or were coming from the Barstock headquarters, and they needed somebody more junior to kind of run things and execute things. So I was actually the only junior in the entire team of very seasoned, very senior professionals. And our biggest mandate was to work with the marketing teams in these countries and help them with a number of things. The biggest part of the job was actually, so Nivea, actually I didn't even mention. So the Barstock सबसे बड़ा brand is Nivea. And I'm sure you already know about the brand. For those of you who don't, it's this beloved round blue tin जो हमारी नानी दादियों के पास होता था. So yeah, it's really, Nivea is that heritage brand that comes from that beloved tin. And so I was working on Nivea, and our biggest job, as I was going back to that, was to create localized innovations. What I mean by localized innovations is Nivea is a German brand, and most of their products were initially developed for primarily the German and the European consumer. So for their skin type, for their weather conditions, for their lifestyle. So the regional marketing team's mandate was to find a way to answer more local needs. As an example, one of the biggest pillars of the Nivea portfolio is our deodorants. And actually, deodorants in the European and the Western world are really, as the name goes, deodorants. So used to, stop any odor from your body or stop sweat, antiperspirants. What we know for a fact and what we learned from our market research was in countries like India, Pakistan, with lower income households, a lot of people use deodorants as actually a cheaper alternative to a perfume, scent ki wajah se. So we knew for a fact that our current portfolio mein jo products and they don't really deliver a strong scent. So one of the product launches that I worked on was launching a more highly fragranced deodorant for this consumer group. Another example of an innovation that I worked on was we know that people in South Africa and Kenya, so people with dark skin, they tend to get unki skin generally bahut dry hoti hai, and they tend to get something that's called ashy skin, which is a phenomena that their skin gets so dry and that it gets like these white particles that sit on top of the skin, almost like ash. So it's a very well-known term, black skin, jo hai wo ashy ho jati hai. So we launched a super nourishing, very rich, thick cocoa butter lotion in Africa and Kenya. So these were the kind of innovations I was working on. And I think it was such an exciting time because I got to travel to these countries. I actually got to meet people from these countries. Like hum marketing mein ek cheez karte hain, which is called home visits. So, actually go to their houses, talk to them, look at their beauty shelf or their bathrooms where they stock their products. So it was super, super fun, but also very, very intimidating because I mentioned I was the only junior in the team. So, coming in with my management trainee, ek saal ka experience, to having to have these strategic conversations with the marketing directors in these countries. And obviously, you don't want to appear stupid. So, thoda sa pressure tha uska, but I think I really learned a lot. I really learned a lot in that role because, meeting people from all these different cultures, a certain level of maturity aa jati hai, a certain level of awareness aa jata hai about the different challenges that people face. And so that was my time in Dubai. And then uske baad I moved with my company to the Canadian business. Inki yahan pe they had a need here, and Bayersdorf is not as big of an organization as the P&Gs and the Unilevers of the world. So movement within the company is relatively easier, I would say. So Canada office mein need thi. I wanted to move here as a family. My husband and I wanted to move to Canada for personal reasons. So I said I'll do it, and I will explain the story of that, how that happened later. But so we moved to Canada, and I've been here since. It's been 5 years, and in 5 saalon mein, I've kind of worked on every single Nivea category that we have in Canada. So Nivea Men, which is our shaving portfolio, shower gels, body lotions, face moisturizers, face cleansers, pretty much all of the Nivea products that we do here. And so yeah, here I am.
Wow, amazing. Like, what a beautiful journey it's been, moving countries and then coming here and been with Nivea all along. That's pretty cool. So, talk about how you landed the job at Nivea Canada and why, how you did it, especially because based on what your story, why it's important to be able to apply to programs which are otherwise considered off limits.
Yeah. I'm very happy to speak on that. Actually, even a step back, I also want to share how about the Unilever internship, because one thing that has been a consistent experience in my career is, really going for things which I believed I can get. Maine try zarur kiya hai, even when the odds were stacked against me. when I was applying for the Unilever internship, I remember super distinctly कि उनका एक actually एक assessment होता है, which is like a written test in the beginning. And when I was going in for the test, my own my peers, Zavis मेरे friends थे, people were like कोई फायदा नहीं apply करने का, IB से लेते हैं वो लोग, क्यों कर रहे हो? You're wasting your time. And I'm really glad I didn't listen to them because it clearly worked out. Similarly, Canada move karne wala bhi was a super interesting way how it happened. So Bayersdorf ki ek annual conference hoti hai for all their marketers, where we go to Hamburg, which is where the headquarters is, to listen to their annual plans, etc., and really network with people around the world. And so I was there and I was speaking to somebody in the headquarters telling them, we are considering moving to Canada and I want to move to another region and get experience in a more developed market like Canada. And I was just having that conversation and she says, well, why don't you speak to the Canadian marketing VP wo aayi bhi hai yahan pe? And I said, okay, sure. And I'm thinking, okay, wo mujhe connect karwaegi, we'll have some discussions after. And she's like, she's standing right there, like she was standing a few steps away. It's like, why don't you talk to her? And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I walked up to her and I told her, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah. Apna thoda background diya. I'm interested in moving to Canada, working for the Canadian marketing team. Do you have something? And she said, oh, perfect. I'm looking for somebody right now. I have a position. Add me on LinkedIn. उसी वक्त करे हमने दूसरे को LinkedIn पे add किया and she's like, okay, perfect. Let's get in touch. जब हम वापस, once we're back in our offices, let's set up an interview and stuff like that. As soon as I came back, the first thing I did was I made like a list of my achievements at Bayersdorf. So I made a pretty convincing case for myself और मैंने उनको भेज दिया. And so what was supposed to be an interview after जब वो schedule हुआ, apparently she was super impressed with what I sent her already. And the call was like really basically about, Acha, so when can you come? And I was like, I thought this was going to be an interview, but she just basically said,
amazing. Amazing.
So that's it. Yeah.
How? Like, what made you go up to her and say, hey, do you have something for me?
I think you know how they say you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. I think in those moments, जब आपको पता होता है कि you can do something, and the likelihood is 9 out of 10 times it will be a no or it will not work out. You have to do it, and I think starting with Unilever, I've done this. I also do this now, by the way. Like, I'm a big fan of LinkedIn cold calling, very respectable cold calling, and I'll speak about that later. But अगर आप किसी से inspired हैं, या if there's something that you want, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? People will say no. Lekin the onus of not trying is on you. So, and I don't want to be that person who 10 years later thinks कि काश मैं पूछ लेती.
Yeah, काश मैं approach कर लेती, कुछ कह देती. Yeah, absolutely, and no regrets at all for even the wins and the losses. So alhamdulillah for everything. So tell me a little about why marketing in particular. Why not any other field?
Okay. Yeah. So I think marketing was it wasn't my calling or anything. I mean, like all Pakistani desi, I am a self-proclaimed nerd. I have always enjoyed school. I have always enjoyed studying. So, like all self-proclaimed nerds, I wanted to be a doctor. So, पहले तो doctor बनना था. फिर जब I did my O levels, actually I want to share that experience too. जब मैंने O levels, when I started my O levels, and I had to pick subjects, तब मैंने कहा कि this is too soon for me to decide कि मुझे कौन से subjects पढ़ने हैं. So in the first 2 weeks of my O levels, I actually sat in every single class. मैंने like all of them. And for us, everyone was like, थोड़ी पागल है ये, but I was like, let me see. And I was like, I will choose my subjects based on which ones I enjoy.
Yumna, office की बात है. I did the same thing. Because I was like, and I dragged, like, my best friend and I, we both dragged each other. कि पहले इस वाले section में जाके बैठते हैं, फिर उस वाले section. We figure it out क्या करें.
Okay, I feel better. मेरे जैसे और नहीं है फिर. So yeah.
More about marketing.
So then उसके बाद, I mean, in those classes, first time जब मैंने economics, accounting or business studies पढ़ी, I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I just found it so interesting. And basically, so I opted for commerce. And then wahan se, I learned more about marketing, and I was like, okay, this sounds like something I could do. And I think I'm so glad I picked it, because marketing is really the perfect, let's say, mix of, creativity, analytics, working with trends, working with numbers. Our basic job is understanding people and answering their needs in a way that would appeal to them. As simple as that. But agar aap marketing mein kaam karte hain, you kind of get a flavor of everything. So, at one point in the day, you're working on business cases, so hardcore accounting numbers. At another point in the day, you are interviewing people, you are getting to know consumers better. So I just really enjoy how multifaceted it is. And then brand management in particular, which is what I do, is I really enjoy this, because this is, I feel, the closest you can be in a company to being an entrepreneur. Because
Right.
you are really the one, as a brand manager, you own the brand, you represent the brand, you're the voice of the brand. So आपके पास बड़ा creative freedom होता है, you can decide where I want to go, you can decide how I want to go the portfolio, how I want to market. Do I want to go on TV? Do I want this to be a digital campaign? Do I want to launch a viral campaign? Like, you really have a lot of control, and obviously you're also accountable for it. So it's really like running a little business of your own within a company, and that's really why I love it.
That's amazing. And what about representation in this field, as far as being a woman is concerned?
I think marketing. I mean, one thing that kind of works in our favor as women is marketing in general is a very what would I say, female heavy field. So there are not very major barriers to entry into getting into marketing, and that's why you see at entry levels, or like at more associate or even junior manager levels, there are a lot of women. When it gets tricky is as you move up the ladder. And naturally, as you move up the ladder, you see there are less and less women, and obviously less representation of our gender. And I think the reason for that is very simple. It's we work hard. Even if we work hard, that's only half the battle. Learning to market yourself, like the marketing hote hain, that's, I think, is what you learn is you need to be your own promoter and your own biggest fan. Sirf achha kaam karna is not enough. Being able to demonstrate what you've done and show people the results that you have delivered is a skill on its own.
Absolutely.
And I can guarantee you, if you don't have that skill, no matter how hard you work, your work will not speak for itself. You need people, you need to be kind of like, वो कहते हैं ना, blowing your own horn. And so when it comes to representation, if women aren't doing that, I can guarantee the guy next to you who probably puts in maybe like 60% of the effort, he will be ahead, and you'll end up staying where you are. And I guess that's my biggest, let's say, um, lesson when it comes to representation. If you want to continue to represent yourself and grow, you need to be able to market yourself too.
Market yourself and just present yourself in a, or communicate what you're saying, or the work that you're doing in a presentable way. That's very rightly pointed out, Yumna. It's true. And being in education for so long, I have seen a lot of students jo maar kha jate hain just because they can't say what they are, right? So it really is important to be able to say what, to speak about yourself and be confident in that,
Yeah.
have self-confidence as well. So tell
And
me
it
about.
doesn't come easy. And by the way, like this full acknowledgement, ये हमारे शायद हमें सिखाया जाता है कि आप humble रहें, आप आहिस्ता बोलें, आप अपने बारे में ज़्यादा बोलें ना. It does not come easy. It's super, super difficult. But the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah, true. Tell me about technology now. So technology is obviously the backbone of all the fields now. How have you seen it play out in marketing, since it's so important now in marketing too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, tech isn't a field of its own anymore. Tech is basically it has impacted every single field, including marketing. I mean, it's not been that long since I've been working. I've been working for about 8 years now. And from when I started, when digital and marketing was basically one person, एक digital manager होता था या एक digital agency होती थी जो कि आपके social media pages चला रहे होते थे, and all you had to do was get more likes. the world has transformed significantly, and the world of marketing has transformed. There are so many more tools, there are so many more new innovations that help marketers be better at their job now. From understanding our customers better to reaching them better. I mean, Pele, it's no more the zamana of putting on a TV ad or like slapping ads in people's faces and forcing them to watch it. It's a two-way communication now. People have a voice, and they're also very, very vocal, especially in this part of the world jahan pe main kaam karti hu, where people will tell you if they find that your marketing is insensitive or not in line with their values right now. As an example of that, and I think something that we're all familiar with is what happened with, fairness creams recently. I work in skincare, so obviously this is something that I was impacted by pretty strongly. Fairness creams have been a big business, and up until now, people said this isn't fair. जिस तरह से fairness creams को market किया जाता है, जिस तरह से उसको address किया जाता है, it's not fair to us and it's not acceptable. And this is why a lot of companies, like us, like Unilever, have had to course correct. We can no longer talk about fairness creams the way we used to, or even market fairness creams at all. And all of this has been because of tech. It's because people have a voice. It's because they can tell us what they like and what they don't like. And taking a step back, I would say it's very easy to get overwhelmed, because as a marketer, aapko, constant upskilling is the name of the game. Now we need to know things like digital marketing itself is such a vast field. Aapko constantly, it's, first of all, it's changing at such a rapid pace that it's hard to keep up. Even for myself, I up until now, 2020 actually, I did a lot of courses on the side, because that's exactly what I felt. I was like, I don't know how this works anymore. And so I think it's easy to get overwhelmed, but I think taking a step back, realizing tech is an enabler in marketing. And if you just understand at the end of the day, our job is to help people, answer their needs with products that do that, and make sure that they're aware of, like, basically market it to them. So you don't have to know everything, but you do have to know the basics. And like I said, the only way to do that is constant upskilling.
That's true. That's very important, and that's important in all fields, I feel, these days, because tech is everywhere now. So, and it keeps changing, so you have to keep up. And that's a theme, by the way, in so far all the talks that we had, that things are changing really fast, and you have to keep up with everything. So now, since you have worked in Pakistan, you've worked in Dubai, you've worked in Canada, how do you compare these markets and the work ethic in each of them?
Okay. I think I'll talk about each of them individually, because it's hard to compare. It's not really a direct comparison. But Pakistan, I have a very fond association with my work experience in Pakistan. I think it's what you, obviously, just because of the fact that it's a very cutthroat environment. Getting into the job workforce in Pakistan, being able to perform there, you learn so much because you're thrown in the deep end. And that's why I think, and also because the country is young, there is so much potential, there is incredible growth from a marketing and strictly a consumer goods perspective. हम कहते हैं कि जो categories हैं उनकी, so there's something that we say, a metric that we use, it's called category penetration. So as an example, when I was working on Vim, one of the metrics that we knew, and I don't remember the exact percentage, but the penetration or the usage of dishwashing bars or dishwashing liquids was so low, it was shocking, because there are a lot of people who use something called like a black, एक मंजन होता है, I think काला मंजन क्या कहलाता है, वो use करते हैं dishes wash करने के लिए. And conditioners or skincare creams or body lotions, how many people actually use it on a regular basis? It's very limited. So there is so much work to be done to just grow these categories, and that's what makes it so exciting. I know बहुत सारे लोग पाकिस्तानी work experience को underestimate करते हैं, and a lot of people say कि बस बाहर निकल जाते हैं, वहाँ पे ज़्यादा अच्छा है, there's better work-life balance, etc. And I completely agree. If you talk about like work ethics or having like more of a work-life balance, it's probably much better in this part of the world. But having said that, I tell this to anybody who I mentor, and my own sister, my own younger siblings, is do not underestimate the value of Pakistani work experience, because what you learn there and the rigor with which you work there will carry you through the rest of your career. And that's why I think everybody who is in Pakistan should start their career in Pakistan and then consider moving out. So that's Pakistan in a nutshell. My experience in Pakistan, and I also want to acknowledge मैंने वहाँ पे इतना ज़्यादा time नहीं गुजारा. I was like there for roughly a year in terms of work experience. So I also don't claim to know it all, but I do think it's a great place to start. That was Pakistan. And then Dubai, I think Dubai is really the place to be if you have, let's say, like 1 to 3 years of experience under your belt. So, you kind of have a sense of what you are good at, what kind of value you bring to a business. And once you know that, Dubai is fantastic because obviously, it attracts people from all over the world. Dubai, like I mentioned, is also tends to be a regional headquarters for quite a few businesses. And so, working in Dubai gives you exposure to a lot of other Middle Eastern markets and maybe a lot of other Asian markets. Is it hard to get into the job market in Dubai? Absolutely. Probably one of the hardest ones in the whole world. Okay, it's so competitive. It's a great place to live. But that being said, I think one very polarizing aspect of the Dubai work culture is it depends a lot on where the company management is from. Dubai, it's no secret. Dubai, there are certain companies that are also very exploitative because, unfortunately, labor laws is that it doesn't really give as much protection or rights to the expat diaspora. So, but the company that I work for is a European company, and that's why a lot of the way things were done were very German. They really value work-life balance. They really value you as an employee. So I would say, agar aapko Dubai mein kaam karna hai, it's really important to find the right employer and find the right people. But I loved it. I loved working in Dubai. I still think I would want to go back at some point. And then Canada it truly is, as people say, it is, Canada ke baare mein, it's very well known that people are really nice, or jokes bhi hote hain ki log thank you bahut bolte hain, sorry bahut bolte hain. And I can confirm it's all true. Absolutely.
Okay, good. That's right.
Yeah, totally. And I actually, when I moved to Canada, I moved here alone. My husband was in Dubai. He only moved half a year later. So I was here on my own. And actually back then, for a certain couple of years in my life, I did hijab. So जब मैं यहाँ move होने वाली थी, my employer sent me, HR sent me a note saying, is there anything we can do to accommodate your needs? And मैंने कहा, well, I do want to, मैं नमाज पढ़ती हूँ during the day and I need a space to pray. But usually, I don't mind. I'll go into a meeting room and pray. Like before I came, they allocated and dedicated a room जहाँ पे उन्होंने sign लगा दिया था कि whenever you go in and pray, just put a do not disturb sign here.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. And I was like, ऐसा भी होता है? मतलब, I was blown away. And honestly, that was just the beginning of how incredibly amazing people are here. They really value you. They value you as a person, and they value the diversity and difference that you bring. So, you don't feel compelled or forced to fit in. मैं halal khati hu, and every company lunch dinner, there'll always be like a different meal for me. ऐसी छोटी-छोटी चीजें होती हैं which makes you feel really valued.
Yeah.
I love it here. That being said, there are pros and cons. I would say the one thing that I struggle with as an ambitious person in Canada is because it's so laid back and because people really enjoy life here. The work culture here also tends to be a little more laid back. उस तरह का rigor and aggressiveness जो आपको पाकिस्तान और दुबई में मिलती थी वो नहीं है. Which is, it's a good thing for your life, but it's as an ambitious person who wants to grow really fast, it's sometimes a little bit
Ah, right. Yes. Thank you for giving such a good comparison of all three markets and all three places to live in as well. Tell me something. As a woman in the business world, how has your experience been? And if girls, younger girls, or other women want to, take the same career path as you, what would you recommend to them?
Um, so yeah, let me think about it. I've had a great experience, as I mentioned, I've had a good journey. I've also worked very, very hard. I want to mention that, nothing comes easy. But in terms of advice, I think the first step is, and this is going to sound super basic, but it's really introspection and self-awareness. I think we, all of us, don't take enough time to understand our own triggers and drivers better. So, as basic as it sounds, take a step back and think of what career you want. मतलब even before thinking मुझे marketing करना है, I think you need to identify where you are going to. So if you are somebody who wants to become, let's say, a marketing director, find people, or somebody who wants to do social media management, or somebody who wants to develop an app, or somebody who wants to, launch their own website, launch their own business. Find out people in those fields and talk to them. People are very approachable if you make the effort to. And one thing that I have really benefited from consistently is having mentors at different levels. So when I was a junior, there was a brand manager who was my mentor. When I became a brand manager, there was a marketing director who was my mentor. Now that I'm a senior manager, like, I'm always trying to reach people like a certain steps or levels above me, so that I can learn from how they got there, and get advice from them. So step back and identify what area you want to get at, and identify people in those people who are already doing those things, and reach out to them. People love sharing their experiences. People love sharing their learnings. Make use of it. So that would be step one. Then the second thing is, obviously there is no you have to make the effort. You have to be in the know. When I go marketing in particular, इसमें आपको, the most important thing is like knowing what's going on. It's they're as an example, subscribe to publications that give you updates on what's happening. Subscribe to Ad Age. Like Aurora hai, which is one of my favorite marketing publications by Dawn, Pakistani. So subscribe to Aurora, subscribe to Ad Age, Marketing Week. There is something called Beloved Brand, which is my personal favorite. It's specifically for brand marketers. But be in the know, आप रोज time निकालें, spend half an hour getting to know what's going on in the world in specific, getting to know about your particular area. Another thing that I love is, by the way, Google Alerts. So Google Pay, what you can do is you can go on and set up alerts for anything. So I have an alert for Skincare Canada, and that gives me like daily emails telling me कि skincare related क्या news updates आई हुई हैं. So be in the know, find mentors, identify what you want to do, and let me just quickly see. I'm just looking at my notes right now. And yeah, I think the last thing is, sorry, I've already spoken about it. But like, identifying what area you are interested in, finding mentors within it is probably the best starting point.
No, and that is really important to find someone who's a little ahead of you, because they can give you direction, they can show you the bigger picture as well. So, your learnings and your takeaways from all the experiences right from the beginning.
I think one thing that we wanted to talk about and I want to bring up is, I don't know if I mentioned it at all, but I am a mother. I have a almost 2-year-old, beautiful little baby boy. And when it comes to learnings and takeaways as a woman in business, I want to talk about motherhood, since it's, some of us have already experienced it, some of us will experience it. And my biggest learning and lessons in life, in a way, if I think about it, I can kind of draw it back to motherhood. The first one being with my own mama. So my mom passed away when I was 15. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and she passed away when we were 5 siblings, and my youngest sister was only 3 years old at that time. So I think losing her was, obviously the biggest tragedy of our lives, but also probably the time that taught me the most. So 15 saal ki, I feel like I felt like a mother since I was 15. Kyunki, I have younger siblings, and since mama moved on, I've had to play the role of a mom in whatever capacity I could. Abhi to mere बहन भाई बताएंगे कितना अच्छा मैंने किया, but I try. But my mom was really a big inspiration in my life because she was an absolutely incredible human being, and I'm not just saying this because she was my mom. I think you talk to anybody who knew her and they will confirm she was, like really a go-getter in life, super creative, and she would always tell me like, इट्स फनी ऐसे होना, बट आई देखो घर के काम तो होते रहेंगे, बट जिंदगी में आपको कोई ऐसी चीज करें जो कि आपकी अपनी हो, जिसको जिसको जिसके बारे में सोच के आप प्राउड फील करें. So, when I say she was creative, Mama did everything. So when we used to live in Saudi, she wanted to learn Arabic, so she learned Arabic from our neighbor. She wanted to work, so she actually went ahead and she used to work in a parlor, which was actually also an Arabic parlor tha. Wahan pe nobody spoke English, nobody spoke Urdu, and I don't know how she did it, but she threw herself in that environment and she worked with like people, with customers as a beautician. Then she started to learn to knit, so वो knitting करती थी. Then she loved cooking, so she would be the type जो कि recipe videos, उस ज़माने तो recording होती थी, so she would like record videos in her VCR video and cook a lot, and she would participate in cooking competitions. So I always saw her, going after her passion, going after her curiosity, and that's my takeaway in life is like, if there's something that I'm curious about today, I want to be able to learn it and I want to be able to do it. And the second, let's say, defining moment in my life, and I think I draw a lot of inspiration and takeaways from was more recent, was when I became a mother. Becoming, my motherhood was very, very planned. My pregnancy was very planned. So I got pregnant 5 years after my wedding because I wanted to take the time to establish my career. And my pregnancy was amazing, super smooth, just like in the movies, glowing skin, perfect everything, bahut achhi guzri. But then when I actually gave birth is when it really, really hit me. And I think I struggled. I really, really struggled from like a super tough labor to breastfeeding struggles to, in general, I just felt like motherhood made me completely lose my confidence, and I felt like I don't know what I'm doing. बहुत स्ट्रगल किया मैंने शुरू में. Luckily for me, I mean, Canada में 1 साल की mat leave होती है, so I also had the privilege and time to recover from it. But I would say it's transformed who I am. The me before momhood and the me after momhood is a completely different person, and I think all mothers can. I'm sure you are able to say that too.
I vouch for that, 100%. Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I digress from your main question, but that's my biggest learning. Motherhood has been my biggest driving force in life, right from as a kid, from my mom, and then to myself as a mother.
Amazing. I have a question for you from one of our viewers.
Yeah.
It's Rabia. She's saying, "Hi, really enjoying this talk. What advice would you give to people who don't have much experience but want to break into the Middle Eastern market?" Asking this because one thing that I have noticed is that this market is more interested in taking people with experience because they don't want to train but want to get trained by you. So what?
Yes. That's actually, she nailed it. I think she answered her question herself because, like I said, the Middle East, it's an extremely competitive market because they are attracting talent from all over the world. So naturally, they just do not have a need for finding raw talent and developing it. What they actually need is people who can bring a certain level of expertise or some strengths from prior work experience. So my biggest advice, like I said, is spend some time in your local market, wherever you're from, with Pakistan probably. Uh, between 1 to 3 years of experience is a sweet spot, because with that amount of time and with that amount of experience is, you've already identified what you're good at, what you're not good at, and through that you can make a case for yourself to make an entry into the Middle Eastern market. In my case, for example, I heavily relied on my Unilever experience, and what I brought to the table, I said, I understand this, because it was a regional team. They were looking for people who understood the region. So that's kind of how I positioned my story, saying, I am from Pakistan, I've lived in Saudi Arabia, I understand the people, and that's kind of my edge. And I added on my Unilever experience to it. So I do think the Middle East is not the place for fresh grads. थोड़ा time लगा के और experience लेके and then consider moving to it.
Right. What about those who are already there and who want to sort of
And are completely fresh.
Yeah.
I want to. So I actually spoke to somebody yesterday. This is a Canadian example, but I think very applicable for the Middle East too. If you are completely fresh and you do not have a work experience and you're in the Middle East, be open to doing volunteer work. I know it sounds hard, and I know unpaid work is not something that you want to do in the beginning, but you have to start building some sort of experience. Something that I love that a lot of people do in North America, which I don't think we as Pakistanis do enough, is getting some retail experience. As an example, if you want to be a marketer for fashion brands, go into an H&M, go into a Center Point, and get a job on the floor. किसी की आपकी, I mean, we need to put aside, first of all, there is no shame in doing any job whatsoever. We need to get rid of this desi mindset of
That is something that is so ingrained in our heads that it's really difficult to fight off, especially if you're in the Middle East. Then the barrier. But what I like to add to what you said, volunteer experience right now post COVID, everything has moved online. So working from home has become it's become the thing. Everybody's doing it, and volunteer work sort of comes easy that way too, because you're working on your time with whatever that you would want to volunteer for. So I think that's a great advice. I would want you to tell us a little bit more about how post motherhood and all the changes that you had. What was it that you used to do as a routine? That sort of brought you back to work, and also your message for LTech.
Okay, so motherhood routine. I can talk so much about this, and I struggle to live it myself. But like I said, motherhood has really impacted my confidence, and I say has because I'm still recovering from it. It's not time new emoji, but when I headed back into work February 2020, 1 year after I gave birth, things that I would do on a regular basis, like giving a presentation to the company, people I already knew, giving a presentation, building a business case, I couldn't do it. I had so much anxiety, and I just didn't feel confident. And so I was speaking to a mentor of myself, and I want to share this message. I spoke to a mentor who's a mother herself, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. मैं अब उस तरह से बोल ही नहीं पाती हूँ. I just don't feel I'm good enough anymore. And she's like, Yumna, when you become a mother, think of the number of decisions you're making on a daily basis. You go from like a 10 to a 10,000, because on any particular moment you're thinking about baby ka diaper change ka time to nahi ho gaya hai. Has she eaten enough? Has he slept enough? Should I be putting him down for a nap? Do I need to buy the next set of clothes because he's going to outgrow his clothes right now? Is he getting enough stimulation in the day? Am I playing with him enough? Like you are making so many decisions. It's impossible for you to not struggle with confidence. And that kind of basically becomes a part of your identity as a mother. That's why you need to rebuild yourself. That was, I think, my starting point. So in order to tackle my this newfound anxiety, I actually took help. I spoke to a therapist. And I don't know why therapy is treated as such a taboo in our society. Therapy isn't for people with very extreme situations. Therapy is for everyone. Honestly, we could all do so much better with our mental health. And so speaking to a therapist was the first step. And then in terms of routine, honestly, I did very, very basic things, jo ki I think hum sabko pata hi hai, but we don't really apply to our lives in a very disciplined way. So when I kind of created a schedule for myself. So I work out very regularly, every single day actually. So, on alternate days, I'm doing either, high intensity like weight training. YouTube videos dekh ke karti hu main, nothing fancy. And then on alternate days, I do yoga because just moving your body has a big impact on your mental health.
100%.
Yeah. So
Changes the
that
way you're thinking for the day.
totally, like, and I think what I hate working out. I love yoga, but I hate like doing anything intensive. It's so annoying. But like the what gets me through it, was focusing on the feeling after. You just feel so good about yourself, like this sense of accomplishment aa jati hai. So just keep focus on that and do it.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. I also journal, by the way. I There's a fantastic journal that I use. It's called a 5 minute gratitude journal. Aap subah baith ke, you write down 3 things that you are grateful for. You write down 3 things that you want to achieve in that day, and then end of the day, you write down 3 things that you think went well and 1 thing that you think could have been improved. Basic saying, you just have to pick up a notebook and do this. But trust me, if you start doing this consistently, it rewires your brain to become more positive. It really does.
And just the feeling afterwards, like I do it on and off. I don't do it regularly, but the days I do it, I'm just like, I have aced my game. I can do this.
Right?
I can do anything. So
Yeah,
it
like
just makes you
yeah,
more organized. You're in control of everything that's happening around you. So it's really important. I absolutely agree.
totally.
And
Even
one of the activities on our group as well, you spoke about social media. Can you tell us that?
yes, social media. So I social media. I identified was probably one of the biggest triggers for my anxiety, and a reminder of my life before motherhood, which was not helping me. So
Hmm.
what I tried doing was I don't use social media during the week anymore. And I literally there were steps to how I got to this. पहले मैंने वो time limit वाली app नहीं होती जिसमें आप you put a time and then it gets send you a reminder of you've exhausted your time, stop using it. Didn't work for me. I would say ignore and continue using it. So the way I started doing was Sunday night I delete Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever I use from my phone. And Saturday morning I reinstall just to use on the weekends. So weekdays, I do not use social media, and I cannot explain how helpful that has been for me.
Amazing.
It's yeah.
I need to. I aspire to do that. I was there at some point, but then with work and everything, I'm back in the sort of social media rut.
I
But
know it's hard.
going to your message for LTech now.
Uh, okay. I have to say the one I thought about this one, and I think my main message that I want to give is and it's going to sound a little bit like a self-help book, so I apologize in advance for that. But there is no limitations. There is no age limit. There is no limit after you become a mother to achieving success and growth in your personal and professional life. Trust me, any barriers that you think you have, मैं तो कर नहीं सकती because मेरे पास time नहीं होता, because I'm a mom right now, because I don't have, one of the things that I want to acknowledge is probably not also having a lot of family support. A lot of Pakistani women, we just, whether it's, maybe like a husband who's not supportive or maybe a family who's not supportive, you have to fight for yourself. You need to, the day you realize that any barriers that you have are first within your own mind is when you can start to make a change. People are doing, if you just think about what's happening in the world, there are people out there who are changing the world. There are little kids to older women to older men, people starting businesses at 50, people start doing, starting new bachelor's programs at 60. The sky is the limit. And I think a lot of us Pakistani women hold ourselves back thinking up to time nikal gaya, I can't do this anymore, my brain is rusted. You have to start somewhere. It's as cliched as it sounds. Like, I go by what my mom used to say, zindagi aapki ek hi milni hai. And regret is a much worse feeling than not trying. You can sit right now and think कि अब तो मैं नहीं कर सकती, but 5 years later you've lost that time. आप उन 5 साल में कुछ और कर सकते थे. Start small, have a goal in life and go at it full speed. I mean, that's really just my only and biggest message.
Thank you so much, Yumna, for giving your time and speaking so candidly about your life, your experiences, your struggles, and everything that you've been through. I hope and I'm quite sure a lot of our listeners have benefited from this conversation. I'm going to be sharing your LinkedIn profile in our comments. If somebody wants to reach out to you directly, if you can mentor them, talk to them. And inshallah, next week we'll be back with another awesome speaker, another for our She Soiree Live Sprints. Thank you, Yumna, for being with us today. And inshallah, see you everybody next week, inshallah. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Bye bye.